there, great land. We are here, the MCU's Spinning Edge, tonight to discuss the 5th episode of The Last of Us. Oh, yeah. So, if you're not familiar with The Last of Us, it is a current HBO TV series playing right now on HBO Max and is based off of the legendary video game called The Last of Us. All right, so to start us off, I just want to go around the table and just ask everyone where your guys' thoughts were at leading up to this episode and kind of hoping for what was going to happen in this next episode before you actually go into it. So, going around the table, I'll start with you, Jasmine. What were your thoughts leading up to this episode?
Well, trying to avoid Twitter and all the spoils. My thoughts up to this episode were very high. I've been very much anticipating the next episodes, the ways that they've been structured and written. They've steadily kept my anticipation for each episode.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Loki's mom. Same question, please.
Yeah, I'm like Jasmine. I think the show, all the episodes up until the 5th one have been just dynamic. I mean, the narrative has flowed fairly well, and we're fairly oriented in the story. I don't think there's any confusion or anything of what's going on, although there's a lot of complications there. I think from the last episode, because it was the cliffhanger with the who are Henry and Sam, and how do they factor into all this, and why this lady Kathleen, who's, as Jasmine calls me, normally the nosy neighbor, she would have been the nosy neighbor maybe in her real life. That's all she would have been, but she become like a beast herself, as vicious as the Clackers in her own way. So yeah, I was really interested to see what was going to turn out with that.
Excellent. Thank you. Jeff, same question, sir.
Well, I guess probably, if anything, I just, I didn't really, there wasn't really anything in particular that I felt was lacking, or that I really was like, really felt like I needed to see, or anything like that and whatnot. I'm enjoying the series and just trying to take it in as it's coming in episode by episode and just kind of feeling it out. And if anything, I guess probably my expectations were that there'd be more action in this episode without question, because I felt like we were due for some, right? Just from the standpoint of where we're at in the series, in terms of balance, there's got to be action, so I mean, I would think that, or if anything, we'll probably, and Jasmine would probably even be able to give some input on this. In the game, obviously, I'm sure there's tons of action, right? Because it's a video game, and that is one of the things that I do find interesting about them doing this as a series. Because I do sometimes poke into some of these Facebook. I'm in some of these Facebook Last of Us groups, right? And I'm in their chats. They're like actual like chats, and these are the fans of the games, and a lot of them, they're fucking pissed at like the series so far, and whatnot, and everything. They have a lot of negative shit to say, and they're diehards, and you can expect that, right? We would all expect that kind of thing. But a lot of them just don't grasp the concept that like they can't give you the perfect video game version of it ain't gonna work. And it make no sense if the series was just constant action, episode to episode to episode. It wouldn't flow the right way, right? They wouldn't be able to flush Joel and Ellie's relationship out. And I guess probably, if anything, that's what I'm looking for across the span of the last 4 episodes. To answer your question, would be I'm looking forward and expecting to see them, which I felt like the end of episode 5 was kind of in the direction where you're going to actually finally see the connection. I think Ellie already has it with Joel, but Joel's going to start to reciprocate the connection with her, where it's going to get beyond the cure and all that, right? And become more about them versus the world.
Very true. Very true. Thank you. So yeah, most definitely, I would agree. I mean, I think that, like I said before, I think that the first 2 episodes were dynamic. I loved those. I thought they were fantastic. Episode 3, I didn't care for, and episode 4, I thought was once again back to that dynamic. And I thought episode 5 was really good. I think it was a slow burn a little bit at first, but overall, I thought it was a really fantastic episode. And I thought it was very interesting how they, Loki's mom said, they left it kind of a cliffhanger a little bit the last episode. They really flushed that all out in this episode and, basically resolved everything at the very end of this episode. So I think that was a smart move on their part as they're creating and putting together the series through the episodes. All right, so basically, the episode starts out, that group of people we met in the last episode that Joel and Ellie kind of get ambushed by when they get into Missouri. Basically, they're like going after everybody in the city and beating people up and all this kind of stuff, which is, really crazy. And we see them moving dead bodies, hanging people. We see them just beating all these kind of people up and stuff like that, and just wreaking havoc. And as that proceeds, that's when we get our first discovery, or introduction, I should say, of Henry and the little boy that he's with. Does anybody remember what the little boy's name was? I can't remember for some reason.
Sam,
thank you. So Henry and Sam. And so we get our first introduction to them. And what we don't realize at first is this is actually, this is supposed to be before where we're at the end of the last episode. So we're kind of getting introduction into, who the people were that all of a sudden had a gun to Ellie and Joel's head at the end of the last episode. So we get introduced to them. We see them. They make their way to some sort of bunker. But before that, that's when we see Kathleen again, Melanie Linsky, and her top honcho bodyguard guy. And she goes in and she's talking to this group of people in this cage, asking where Henry is. And, she basically, says some words and, so nobody's got to tell me anything. She's like, oh, go ahead and kill them all. And then somebody pipes up and tells them what they know. And they end up being killed anyways, even after giving up the information. So that's when we popped back to Henry and Sam. They're at a new location. They're greeted by this gentleman there that's there to help them. Basically, he kind of tells Henry kind of what's going on, what this food situation is. They should be safe here, type of deal. Sam, as we have come to know, he is deaf, so there's a lot of sign language in this film. And so we get this. There's a lot of reading in this episode, which I thought they do it well in this. That sign language portion, I thought they do a really good job. But basically they find that out, and then we end up finding out that older gentleman, was actually the doctor guy that Kathleen killed in the last episode. And so then the next morning, that's when we. Basically, they're hiding out down below in some sort of building, Sam and Henry. And Henry's looking out the window. All of a sudden, hears some commotion going on. And so he looks out and he's looking through it and stuff like that. And that's when he notices Joel and Ellie and, in this car that has this truck that's crashed into this building, and they're being fired upon. And that's, basically kind of where it shows they've seen where, who Joel and Ellie are, and that, this is an opportunity to use them for some reason. And so then that's when it finally goes to the present again. And we're introduced them, up in the building where Ellie and Joel were sleeping. They got a gun to his head. So we'll stop right there. So I want to get everyone's opinion on that beginning sequence. What were your thoughts on it? How did you see how it was? Was there anything interesting you found about it? Was there anything you didn't like? Also, what did you guys think about Kathleen's character there at that sequence there where she's in character? Did you get that same feeling like I did, where basically you just kind of hate this character a little bit? You feel like that's what they're trying to go for, is you really don't like this Kathleen character, but you understand why she's going the way she is. So I would like your thoughts on the process of that beginning little sequence here. Starting with you, Jasmine, please.
Honestly, I liked how the show's pacing went and how it slowly shows you everything from other people's perspectives other than Joel and Ellie's, which is something in the game they didn't do. You mostly got the Joel aspect and then the relationship and the story going through Ellie's perspective. And what I really liked about this was in the very beginning, you kind of got to know how the nosy neighbor character is and how malicious she is due to her surroundings and mostly what this pandemic or this infection has really done to her and how many people she's lost has kind of hardened her and turned her into this ruthless kind of dictator. I did very much enjoy watching her interrogate these people like she was the good guy, even though in the end, with them, getting the bullets anyway, even though they told her what she wanted to know, was kind of slick. I think if you're going to be an evil person, saying you're not like the other people is definitely a way to get the information you want. But it always comes down to you're going to eventually have to threaten the life in order to get the information you want, which she easily showed. I like seeing the discourse she has with her people, how trusting they are in her. Her right-hand man, I've been kind of noticing this since meeting him, the guy with the beard and the sniper gun. I've noticed that they kind of have this relationship. Like, I feel like they might have a relationship together outside of just business partners. And it's subtle. It's not shoehorned in there, but it's enough for you to get that ideal. And I thought that was interesting because it pays off later. Other than that, I did very much enjoy meeting Sam and his and the father.
Thank you. Awesome. Excellent. That was a great little breakdown. Before I go to you, Loki's mom, I just want to shout out Jocelyn in the comments there. Hello, Jocelyn. Thank you for being in the comments. Just to let you know, we did see you are there. Thank you for watching. And same question, Loki's mom, please.
I liked how they did go back and do a bit of the backstory before Joel and Ellie actually showed up there to show how this rebel band or whatever they are took over the Fedra facility and but as a very opening, they're just wreaking havoc and hanging the guys. And there's one scene where he's just got like 50 knives in him. And they're just they're dragging him down the street and just very brutal. And of course they're taking their anger and their frustration and their abuse and everything they've had to endure for 20 years back on to the Fedra. They've had enough of it. So yeah, I mean, it's coming to a crisis point, or actually had come to a crisis point by the time Joel and Ellie arrives, and then of course when Sam, I think I remember I didn't go back, but I do believe that in the previous episode where that same scene takes place from Joel's perspective, he looks out and I think he sees somebody duck out of the window across the street, and that was Henry's head that he saw. So there's the connection there. Yeah, and then Kathleen, like you say, she's just very hateful. Sort of beyond that, because she's sitting in there with and they're terrified. They know what's coming. They don't know, or probably they suspect what's coming. And so, don't worry. If you just tell the truth, we'll be okay. And of course, and then when she goes, no, go in there and kill him. She's very ruthless, just cold-blooded. And you sort of, and I sort of forget that she wasn't a housewife 20 years ago. She wouldn't have been old enough. So I think that I think trying to say, well, here's somebody who flipped, the contrast of the nosy neighbor who became this beast. No, she was never the nosy neighbor. So yeah, she's a very complicated character, and yeah, not likable at all. I'll agree. You're supposed to hate her at this point. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like I said, like I felt like this episode really tried to make people really hate her even more. Even though that she was trying to, she like in that sequence that we're talking about, she seemed kind of nice, but at the same time, you knew there was evil to her because we saw it in the last episode where she went back and shot that doctor guy, and just like how she kind of presented herself and things going on, like you just knew like there's a lot more evil to this woman than you think. That it's not just because her brother was taken. There's more to it. Like she's really got insane because of what's happened in the world. So it's kind of like you either love her or you hate her type of deal. I feel with Kathleen, because that's just how I think the character is supposed to be portrayed. And I think Melanie Linsky did a fantastic job with this character. I really enjoyed her. I thought she did a really fantastic job. All right, Jeff, sir, same question, sir, please.
Yeah, I agree with 100% on that. I think that was great casting of Melanie Linsky. I haven't seen her in anything for a long time. Now that I think about it, now that I as I was watching the episode, and then I pulled up the IMDb there for a minute, right, and looked at her for a minute, it occurred to me that I haven't seen her in anything in a long time, for years. I think it's been since I've actually seen her in anything that I've watched. But her face is one of those faces that's very recognizable. Once you see her in a film or something like that, or in a TV show or whatever, you don't forget her. At least I don't. You know what I mean? Like she just has that kind of face, that kind of hair color that look to her, where she doesn't look just like other people. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And she purposely she perfectly pulls off her character, right? It's short arc, right? Like I feel like she really she gets the most out of like the screen time she gets, right? And her scenes and everything and whatnot. I feel like she really gets the most out of them as an actress. And like and I feel like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say, look, we only saw this character for what, an episode and a half or something or whatever, like, right? Essentially. So it's not like we know like, all about her. But that's the thing about these type of shows, right? The series is that in this type of dystopian environment, they're not going to give us these huge inflection type episodes that are going to fill in all the gaps on characters. We're going to have to figure this shit out in like the little bit we get with them, right? Off of basic, simple stuff. And I like that. I dig that about the series. I do. And I dig that about these post-apocalyptic type deals where there is no time, right? There is always constant danger around the corner and shit. Walking Dead was the same way, right? You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to have like a huge swath of background information to understand Daryl. You know what I mean? It was very simple. When he came out of the woods with the fucking, ears all over ring on the necklace and all that shit or whatever and whatnot, it was like, okay, there's Daryl. That's what he does. He's crazy, he lives in the woods and shit. He's a redneck. There you go. Well, so no, I like that. I feel like now again, I never played the game at all myself. But I feel like it's a little unfair for people in the fandom to not even at least give the series a chance, right? And whatnot, based off of these inaccuracies, I guess, or these these changes of the characters and things like that and whatnot from the games. I'd have to imagine. I actually have seen some of the fans comment that they like what they're doing with different characters. They like how they've changed them, right? Like Jasmine already said. What did you say earlier, Jasmine? That you'd never seen it in the game? You see everything through Joel and Ellie's eyes or whatever?
Yes.
I see. Okay. So yeah, I think that's interesting to know. Without having played the game, I would have no idea, but that makes sense. So I can imagine that must be interesting, right? To have other people actually kind of like be the focus and be the lens. If anything, I guess all I can really say about that part of the episode, and then about Melanie Linsky and her character, Kathleen, is just that it's sad that we only got so little of her, right? I wouldn't have minded if she would have stuck around for the rest of the season, personally. But I guess, hey, they're trekking, they're traversing, the country, whatever, to get where they got to go. So there's going to be little stops like this. I just really like the fact that they gave us our first taste of, I think in this part of the episode, you get the first taste of kind of understanding the reasoning for the resistance, for Kathleen, why she's the leader. We don't know for sure at this point why she became the leader, or about, the stuff that we're going to talk about later. Doesn't get flushed out yet. But what I'm just saying is that we knew we were going to meet other factions, other groups of people that were going to have fought back against Fedra, right? And whatnot and everything. It was only a matter of time. Or scavenger groups that are just out there trying to rob people for anything they can get, kind of deal, and whatnot. So I enjoyed the fact that at this point in the episode, I believe that there is some talk of Fedra. Like, we get Fedra back in the episode, at least. They're talking about it. Since Fedra was basically the nemesis or the villain in the game, I do think it is kind of important that they have some part of the series.
Most definitely. Thank you, sir. All right. Jasmine, you had something else you would like to mention?
I did also want to say that Sam and his father, their dynamic changed quite a bit to give them more dynamic in the show, because when it came to Sam in the game, he actually isn't deaf, or he isn't deaf in the game. He actually can hear, and he talks quite a bit. So them changing that dynamic for the show was something I immediately saw and immediately loved, because it gave their relationship so much more intensity, and gave him signing to his son and things. It really warmed my heart, and it was really something that was wonderful to see. And that's something I love, when someone adapts something by changing small things to give it more depth. And so I had to mention that before. That's definitely something that wasn't in the game.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely nice when you can contrast the two things between the game and the show, and how they differ, and how it actually sometimes does better in the TV show versus the video game sometimes. All right, so we are going to kind of throw you guys the episode 5 promo here, just to kind of reinvigorate here for this episode, and then we'll move on.
Things have gone great. Haven't you heard? Kansas City is free. Where is Henry? He told me to forgive. But where is the justice in that? It ends the way it ends.
The bloaters, baby, the bloaters.
All right. So yeah, to entice you people. Entice, yes. Get you in the mood for it. Oh yeah. All right. So moving on. So after we get back to present day, and Joel and Ellie are sleeping, and they're waking up by Henry and Sam, and they're holding a gun to them. They basically eventually come to a truce, and then they eat some food, and then basically they introduce themselves to each other. And then Joel's like, so, we did this, okay, what do you need, or what do you want? And then basically it goes to the next morning, and Henry explains to, Joel basically that he knows a way out and how to get out, and they need, basically Joel's help to get out, because they're not really experienced in dealing with, the infected, and, they need help basically if they do come in contact with anybody that has guns or is a threat, they need somebody that can help them get out of a jam. And basically they end up coming to an agreement. At this time too, Ellie and Sam are getting close to each other. They're playing around, they're giggling, all that kind of stuff. They're looking at comics and stuff like that. And basically, wow, you okay over there, sir?
Yeah. It's only a matter of time.
Anyway, so after they come to that conclusion that they'll do that, that's when they, basically Henry goes over how they're going to do it, and that they're going to do it through the tunnels that are underneath the city that lead out to the suburbs and take them to this embankment that goes over past that area, and they should be scot-free. So then the next day, they start to adventure that way, and so basically they end up making their way into the tunnel. As they're making their way through the tunnel, they come basically to kind of like almost like a bunker that's underneath the city that people basically that have, when the virus first came down and everything and started attacking and stuff like that, they thought, oh, the best idea is to go underground. The virus can't get down there if we're underground and hiding. And so they're like basically this big bunker that, that they created down there. And so they end up hanging out there for the night and basically kind of just like relaxing and eating and getting some rest. So after that happens, they make their way there and they're enjoying it. They're, basically having conversations with each other and stuff like that. The Sam uses one of those like Etch-a-Sketch board things to talk to Ellie, and which I think is really fun. And because I remember those things as a kid, those things were fun. And that's when, as they're hanging out there, Henry and Joel kind of have another of a conversation. Joel starts it off by kind of saying his sorry for what he said the night before or the day before, and then Henry basically confesses that he kind of lied about things, and that he basically confesses he's the one that ratted out Kathleen's brother to be able to get medicine for Sam, who has leukemia, and the only way to get that was to bargain with Fedra. And so basically, he explains that to him, and they leave it at that. So as that progresses, that's when we go to a short little clip where Kathleen is hanging out in some building, and her lieutenant guy, that first like bodyguard guy, comes and is looking for her, and she's like, basically they have a conversation about about her brother and what the cause is and all that kind of stuff, and kind of where she's at and why she's at this point, and basically the reason why we need to find Henry and this kind of thing, and basically that this is war and that we have to get this war. So before we go past that, we'll stop right there. All right, so what is your guys' thoughts on that section of the film, or episode, I should say, not film? And what did you think about the conversations between Kathleen and her number one guy? What did you think about the conversation that Henry and Joel had? What did you think about kind of like they decided to work together? Did you like that? Did you think that was a good idea? Do you think that if they went a different route, something else might have happened? And overall, just what were your thoughts on that little section of this episode? Starting with you, Jasmine.
Pretty much. I liked how we got to learn more about Sam and his father, and basically see that the father has not seen his son happy in quite some time. Them sneaking up on Joel was interesting. Seeing how they were able to step around that glass is pretty cool. Like you gotta give them a pat on the back for that, because like getting a kid at any age to be that stealthy and not accidentally crush something is something to be proud of. Because I was like, how the hell? I know my accident prone ass would have stepped on something and cussed out loud. I'm sorry. Like quiet. I don't know her. But I definitely enjoyed seeing that how Sam and Ellie were kind of having this kinder friendship going on, and how he also enjoyed comics just like he did in the game. That was something that was really cool to see how they interpret that with him being, deaf, and how she was reading it to him. And I enjoyed that, and just like seeing them being goofy. I also enjoyed watching how Joel, when he woke up, he immediately was ready to like go guns a-blazing until he saw Sam. He's like, "Oh, let me calm myself for a minute," because he was like, "I'm about to fuck this man up." It's nice to see how he still has that parental mindset when it comes towards kids. Like he went from the father to the son, and you saw that moment of like reaction dimmer just a bit. Seeing Ellie vulnerable like that was very upsetting for me. I was just like, oh no. Like, even though I know how this is gonna go because I played the game, it's still, they do such a good job with the show with changing things that it still triggers an emotional reaction, and they do a wonderful job with that. I do have my issues with the fact that they do cut from scene to scene really quickly when it comes to how in the game there's a lot of like infected occurrences throughout it, because of the fact that you're supposed to have that in there. But it feels like there's something missing when you go from frame to frame, just kind of jumping from one location to the other without having a moment in between to have them actually do the traveling. That is something that's always been really sloppy with the show for me, because it just feels like there's something missing with the way they cut it, because of the fact that they just go from one location to the other. I did like seeing that Sam and his father were watching Joel take out the people in the laundromat. That was kind of a cool nod, because they don't show that in the game. They just happen to come into their location of where they have been hiding, and that's how they meet them. So having them have a prior knowledge of them was really good writing and structuring. Other than that, I'm going to leave way for someone else to talk.
Awesome. Thank you. Great job there. And once again, love that you're incorporating the game into the TV show and kind of comparing those for us. Thank you. That's fantastic. All right. Loki's mom, same question, please.
Well, yeah, Jasmine really hit the nail on the head when she talks about the family dynamic that's going on in the next set of scenes. Although I think in the TV series, Henry's is Sam's older brother rather than his father. I think he's supposed to be like maybe 19 or something like that. He's real young. And I think at the great scene where they finally do meet up and they've got the guns on Ellie and Joel, and then he said, "I don't know what to do. You tell me what to do." And then he's forthright. He said, "Well, I need you to get, I know how to get out of the city, and you're the person I'm pretty sure that can get us there." So yeah, and there's another thing, like I remember right off the bat, we actually heard it in the little preview there. It says, "Where's Henry?" Well, there's the game called Where's Henry that you can go look at the picture and try to find the guy with a hat, funny hat, or glasses or whatever it is. And I'm thinking when he pulls out that grid, he starts drawing that grid of the tunnels and whatnot. Just that made me think of that. But yeah, that one scene where there's it's still in the office building way up where they can see out, and it's lit. Everything's real lit up in there. Everything's been so dark and grimy. The office still looks kind of good. It's a little dusty, but it still kind of looks like a recognizable office. And they're sitting there at the table, and Joel and Henry are talking, and the kids off, and they start giggling real loud, and Henry turns and smiles, and he's delighted by it. And then you see Joel; he just flips his head around because I think these pangs of his daughter, remembering his daughter. When's the last time he heard a child laugh? So I think he felt that real pang in his heart. And then, of course, they say tunnels, and I thought, oh my God, here we go. Now we're going to see some action here. But golly, they got all the way through the tunnel, and then they get to this the bunker. And to our eyes, it's so sad because it's with chalk and whatnot and paint. They've tried to put flowers and whatever, try to brighten it up. And then you go on into the playroom and it's even dingier, But Sam and Ellie they're, oh my God, look at all, they're white. They haven't seen stuff like this. This is, oh my God, just all these wonderful playthings and books and whatnot. And so their childlike innocence, I think, really shows there because they're still children, and even Henry's still a young man. He's not a grown up yet. He hasn't, as much as he's seen, he hasn't seen it all yet. So yeah, I think it was not a lot of action in that, but a lot of emotional dynamics and setting up for the next couple of scenes, which are going to be pretty hard.
Excellent. Thank you. Most definitely. All right. Jeff, same question, sir.
Yes. Well, I mean, essentially, Henry is his brother. I don't know if in the game he's his father. I'm not sure. But either way, I thought that what I really took out of it a lot, what I enjoyed out of that whole scene, the biggest part for me was when Joel had a dialogue with Henry, and Henry's a very interesting mirror image to Joel because he's very direct, right? He's very logical, he's very intelligent, right? But he's not violent. You know what I mean? At all. And he says to him flat out, yeah, you think I can handle my business or whatever? Well, my ability to commit violence or whatever and whatnot, you just saw would be me holding an unloaded gun to you. You know what I mean? It's like the most violent thing I've ever done in my life, or something like that, right? Well, there you go. He's not a wussy, right? But he's not a violent person. It's not in him to it's not innate to him to hurt people or natural for him to hold a gun to someone. You could see it when he held the gun to Ellie that he didn't feel comfortable. That he did not want to kill Ellie. He did not want to have to shoot her. Right? It was obvious that if anything, he was almost in defense holding the gun to her. Right? They were more afraid of them than the opposite. So I just loved how that played out. I thought it was well acted, right? And they did a great job. The actor that portrayed Henry, he basically he did an excellent job, I think, of again making the most out of his time, right, in the series, because I don't know, but I'm assuming we're not going to see him again. He doesn't go with Ellie and Joel, so but then again, you never know. Maybe he'll pop up again. You never know. He might return. You got to imagine there's going to be some series that are going to characters that will pop up later on in season 2. Just because it's a post-apocalyptic place or whatever, that doesn't mean you don't come across the person a second time. No. I thought that it was interesting how they recounted how Fedra drove the infected underground, right? And I wondered in my head to myself, how did they do that? Right? Like the infected are like, they're almost like zombies. Like Jasmine says, they are like in the first stage, right? Before they become clickers, they're basically just like violent, cannibalistic, mutants almost, right? They have no will or any I don't think they're afraid of anything, to be honest with you. So I'm just wondering, how the hell did they drive them underground? I guess though, possibly, this would have been when they would have evolved, right, to the clicker stage and the bloater stage and whatnot, and all that by then, probably, because he said that they said that they cleaned them out or whatever 3 years ago. At the point that they actually pushed them underground, that would have been when they had reached the point where they have the hive mind mentality and all that, and at that point, I could see where they would actually probably go underground if they realized that they were like overwhelmed or in danger by like Fedra, possibly. But it's interesting to think about, how do these creatures like handle certain things, I guess, is what I took out of it. Just to kind of, I guess, bring something different to the question than Jasmine and Renee did. Is when I come across these things, I imagine in my head sort of like, oh, well, how would they have done that then? Like, how do you drive these infected underground, right? Basically, I think that it's sad when it just whenever you watch shows like this, it's sad to see kids being kids, right? Getting a chance to be kids. It's adults are adults. Like we're supposed to be able to handle shit to some extent. But to grow up as a kid and have to grow up in something like that, it's just really fucking heartbreaking. You know what I'm saying? It's really sad just to imagine it. I would not want to imagine my children having to growing up like that. I would not want to imagine that. Right? Every day of my life, if I had to raise my children like that under those conditions, would break my fucking heart, literally.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Jasmine, you had something else you would like to mention?
I did want to mention that while they were underground, something that they changed from the game was that they eliminated all the clickers that were down there, because in the game it was majority just clickers and some remnants of the infected in there. And when they had to go down there, it was Sam and the father going down there with Joel and Ellie, and they had the people that lived down there put a bunch of traps down there that signaled whenever an infected was in the area. And I just kind of wish they would have at least kept some of those elements when it came to the traps and stuff, so that you could see that they did have some like devices to like warn themselves of anything trying to kill them, especially with them later saying that they did get infected and ended up, that's why they're not down there anymore, because they weren't paying attention. It would have been something to add to the little dynamic they had going on down there with the story that they were trying to tell.
Yeah, I was just trying to jump in a bit. I was kind of surprised, but I thought surely they were going to have some shootouts down in the tunnel, because it was tailor made for it, narrative wise. But yeah, it kind of surprised me they didn't. It just kind of walked through it. And where were the tunnel? I kind of forgot they were in the tunnel at all. But yeah, it's interesting how they change it up for that. I think they may have done it just to keep that flow of the because we do have that scene coming up, which we'll talk about in a little bit, with Kathleen explaining herself and this whole so it's just sort of a flow of this family ideas, and I think maybe that would have they just kind of wanted to extend it a little bit further. And anyway, there's just some thoughts.
Thank you. All right. Jeff, your thoughts, sir. Wait.
I already
You
gave it to you,
your
bruh.
thought. You already gave my thoughts. What am I thinking?
You're
Oh, that
not
confused
listening.
me.
You're not listening, Cyber.
No. I saw you speaking, so I automatically thought I needed to go to him. That's the reason why. All right, folks. So after where we left off, the next some time passes after they're in the bunker, and they venture their way through the tunnels, and they end up out on the street in the suburb that the Henry was talking about, and they start walking through, and then all of a sudden they start getting shot at. So they duck behind a car, and Joel keeps trying to look to see where the shooting's coming from, and they keep getting shot at. And Joel's like, basically, okay, you guys stay here. I'm going to go around back and get in there and come up behind the person and stop them. And so, Ellie's at first like, no. It's like, yeah, it'll be fine. So Joel leaves, and he ends up sneaking into the house, makes his way up to the stairs where the person that's shooting at them from the top ends up being this older gentleman. He's got a rifle, and he's shooting at him, and he walks in and has his gun at him. It's like, put your gun down, and we'll just sit here for a little bit, and then you're done. That's all. We just move on. And the old man, being stupid, still keeps the gun and tries to shoot him, and he gets killed. Then that's when all of a sudden they figure out that there's a radio in there, and that guy was there letting them know where Henry was. And we find out that Kathleen and her group are coming. And so as the radio's going off and Joel's noticing, he looks out the window, and they start looking over, and they notice that there's vehicles coming towards them. And so they start trying to make their way to get out of there. And as the cars are coming and stuff, and they're driving through, and they start plowing through all the cars that are in the way, and they're trying to get away, and Joel's screaming at them, run, and stuff like that. And he starts to shoot at things. He eventually, he's able to shoot through the front window of one of the trucks and causes the person to crash into a house. After that happens, kind of causes like an explosion and everything going on there. And all the people end up getting out of their vehicles and start walking towards. And Kathleen's calling out, Henry, come out, and just make it easier for us. Otherwise this will be difficult. And they're still hiding behind the truck, Ellie and Henry and Sam. And as Kathleen's talking, so that's when Henry kind of shouts out, I'm here. And they have kind of like a conversation, come out, blah, 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 this and stuff. And, he's like, let the kids go and I'll come out. And she's like, no. And this is stuff. And basically he eventually ends up, coming out behind and raising his hands up and saying, and Kathleen's kind of talking and starts pointing her gun at him. And that's when all of a sudden you look back over at the building where that truck plowed into, and there's a huge explosion. And then all of a sudden you see the truck go diving into the ground. You're like, what the hell? Like, why is this going into the ground? Like, I didn't realize this caused that big of an explosion that it caved in the bottom of where this house was. And after it sinks in, and they're all staring over there, and they kind of start to sneak their way, they start making their way a little bit away. And all of a sudden, after the truck disappears, all of a sudden you hear noise. And out of the noise, all of a sudden the affected emerge. So all those people that all the affected they pushed down into the sewers are now coming out of the ground. And so all of a sudden we see them all coming down. They all start chasing them, and all the people are like, and start shooting their guns and crap like that. And that's, when basically Henry and Elle and Sam are trying to start giving themselves away, but they're trying to keep away from being attacked by the people too. And basically that's when we have this great kind of like battle sequence with the infected and them all trying to battle and stuff like that. And that's, basically they start to, they're shooting and trying to kill the infected as much as they can, and they're trying to get away. Joel's up in the house still shooting at the infected to keep them from getting Elle. Elle starts making her way, and she kind of gets separated from Sam and Henry. She ends up diving into a car to get away. And fortunately, a young child infected makes its way inside the car, and it like starts to chase after her, but she's able to get out and be okay. Then we find out that Sam and Henry are stuck on their car, and some of the boggers, what are they called? The mushroom head guys.
Bloater.
Clackers, and bloaters.
Plackers, I believe, right? And they're like trying to get them and stuff like that. And Joel shoots them in the head, both of the creatures in the head, and Elle's able to pull them out. Then we go back to Kathleen and her main henchman guy, and he's like, "Get out of here!" and I'll take it on. All of a sudden, that's when a bloater comes out, who is badass as hell. Oh my god, that was so freaking awesome! He comes just barreling out of there. I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome! And he starts like whacking away at people, and then the one guy there starts like shooting at him, and he notices him, and he starts running towards him, and Kathleen starts to make her way away, and he gets the bloater guy gets a hold of this guy and just rips his head right off, which was awesome. I was like, yes, they killed him, yes! And I was like, that was so awesome. And so then we go back to Elle and Sam and Henry, and they're still trying to make their way through and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Kathleen pops back up, and I'm just like, to myself, I'm thinking, what a dumb chick. You're supposed to get out of there. Why did you stick around? You're an idiot. And what happens? She gets attacked by the little kid infected and gets killed. I'm like, Melanie Linsky, your amazing acting just got killed. Oh, I'm so sad. But at the same time, I'm like, yes, she got killed. Yes. And she gets stabbed, so that they basically finally get away. Joel ends up coming down and meeting them, and they get away. So, stopping there, let's talk about that amazing action sequence and all that goodie that happened there. What were you guys' thoughts? What was your highlight of it? What did you think about it? Were you expecting anybody to have been bitten? Do you think that the bloater looked awesome? And what were just your overall thoughts of that sequence? Starting with you, Jasmine.
Well, going off of the bloater coming out the ground was so epic. The way I screamed for joy, it gave me so much MCU early day vibes. Like, if this was in theaters, people would have been screaming and, out of their seats, just going, woo! But, I definitely think that seeing more Kathleen, now that I know her name, more of her and her squad, and how we've gotten more about her as a character throughout this episode compared to how we were introduced to her in the her first appearance. I like knowing that she's not ruthless just to be ruthless. There's means to it, and it's kind of the world around her shaping her into this end all to be all. And I kind of enjoyed watching her and her crew basically say that they were going to end Ellie, Sam, and I guess the brother, because he's not the dad in this scenario, which is, I guess, makes more sense if you think about it in the context of the show. And seeing Joel, the whole shooting from the building was very different from the game, because they were in a town, like a very long distance away from the shooter, and they had to make their way across the town through clickers and infect it in order to get to that sniper and get up to him and then take him out. So seeing Joel do that by himself, just like in the game, and then having the people basically corner off Ellie, Sam, that was different compared to the game. That's definitely for sure. But it helps with the story that they are trying to relay. And I loved how that the car that was inside the house that was burning slowly slipped into the ground. The way that happened, and everyone started to turn, because it felt like this unlimited force was just calling to them. And then you just start hearing infected. And then they just rise up like Captain America saying, Avengers. It was so cool just to see them storm, and you were just wanting to see them for since the last time you saw some infected, you really wanted that battle, and you finally got it. And they didn't hold back either. They went straight for it, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing Ellie struggle with trying to get away while Joel was shooting and being kind of like that overprotective, like big brother father figure with the sniper. But when that infected came, kind of like all Circus Orlais into the into the truck through the window, was so terrifying. So for me, that was actually my favorite part outside of the bloater. I was a little upset that they didn't have the bloater tear a piece of its skin off and throw it to infect people like it did in the game, but I know that wouldn't make sense in this universe that they've created because there isn't spores. But it was something that was really important to the whole bloater that I kind of wish they would have like adapted it so that when it threw it and it exploded, it had like plants or something to infect somebody. That would have been really cool. That would have been something that they could have utilized and been really smart to do. But all right, that's all I have to say. Oh, and Kathleen dying was awesome.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. Loki's mom, same question, please.
Yeah, I think we were all, waiting for that whole time when they were going to finally come up out of the ground. I mean, come on, we want to see some action. But yeah, I think right before that, though, there was the little scene with Kathleen in her, I guess it was her former bedroom that she had shared with Michael. Now, Michael's who she's avenging. This is what is driving her, is to get revenge for Henry having turned Michael into Fedra, and I guess Fedra executed him. And so that's been her driving point. And she's sort of there for a few moments. We do see, that was her protector. Just like Joel is to Ellie or Henry is to Sam, Michael was that to her. So she lost the only thing in the world she loved, that she could cling to. And not only that, he was, I guess, a great spiritual leader in the community, because you mentioned earlier, Jeff, about Henry was a nonviolent person. Well, that was because of Michael. Michael was a great influence on him. And I guess we all just have to learn to let whatever, I can imagine what he preached, but, we all have to learn to live together and whatnot, because eventually we'll get out of this or whatever. And that was their hope. But it all fell through when Henry had to get the leukemia medicine for little Sam.
I thought you were going to say that her brother took her virginity.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, for a minute there, I thought you were going to say that her brother took her virginity.
No, Jeff, that's not what I was going to say. Absolutely not. That's incest, and I'm not even going to go there. All right, I'm done. Y'all, next person.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Jeffrey, your thoughts, sir.
The car thing freaked me out too. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm like, how can the infected be able to be capable, like strong enough or whatever, to move that car or truck or whatever the hell it was, right? But then I guess when it makes sense when I saw the crowd of them or whatever you want to call it, the swarm. Pardon me. I'm not sure what they call it in the game when they all collect like that or whatever, swarm, whatever. In fact, I think they even used the term for earlier in the series. But either way, I guess it was just the surge of the bodies, like all the infected pushing, right, wanting to get out, right. That was what got eventually pushed through. I love the fact that they had such a mix of the different infected together. We've never really saw that yet, I don't think, right? I couldn't tell if there were clickers in there. Some of those were clickers. They weren't. The bloaters were few. There weren't a lot of them. and I think most of them were clickers. If you think about it, if they've been underground for this whole time, for all this time, whatever, right, 20 years or some shit, essentially, based off of what I understand about how the infection works, the first 2-day cycle of the cordyceps is where they become like, they slowly become like the cannibalistic zombie, like, animalistic type mutants and everything and whatnot that just want to infect people all crazy. And the infected lose their higher brain functions, which erodes their humanity, whatever, but they remain alive. Even the bloaters, the human being host is still alive, right? As the bloater. It's not dead. It's there as a vessel, basically, almost. If you think like, think of an alien, like aliens having the alien inside of somebody or whatever, something like that. So, there are no undead zombies or whatever, no undead infected in The Last of Us. They're all alive. Once the human host is killed, as we've already seen, they just fall down. But then they actually like are still able to talk and communicate through the roots and through the ground and through the however that works, that network. Which I think is actually very interesting, that organic aspect of the scientific aspect, I guess, of the fact that they're able to do things like that, like connect, communicate with each other through signals or whatever it is, or however it works, just by like being close to the ground, organically, I guess. So stage 2 is the clickers, the stalkers. That's when the fungus begins to spread. That's that's after 2 weeks. And then the clicker stage is, I guess, 2 years, I think it says. That's what at that point, that's when the growths flower out from their heads to the brains and take out their eyes. And that's why they have to become clickers, because they can't see. Then the bloaters are stage 4. And they're the ones that literally, they've been infected since infection day, and they're still there. They're still kicking it, And that's the bloater stages, And I guess now I don't know. Jasmine would know more about it. I guess in the second game, there are other versions or whatever of the infected that we don't see in this or whatever. Whatever. But anyways, so basically, I was surprised at the strength of the bloater. The way he picked up that dude and threw him on the ground and shit, whatnot, and everything, whatever his name is there, the second in charge, under Catherine, they almost have like super strength. Because I mean, he picked that guy up and threw him like it was like some like WWE shit, and I mean, at that point, they're pretty damn dangerous. I'm glad that they haven't really shown us much of them, and they've we've only gotten like, we're getting like little bits and pieces of some of this stuff, right? But it's always interesting to see in like a horror film or whatever. That's in a way, I look at that scene as like a horror film scene, right? You normally would only see something like that in a horror movie, almost, basically, where you've got like infected children and shit and whatnot end up killing characters, like a clicker kid. I mean, it's it's intense. It's like, I mean, like, you don't want to look into it. You don't want to think about it too deeply, but like, it's really sick to think of a child like that infected. You know what I'm saying? Like, of all things, it's easier to the eyes and whatnot to see adults like that. It's harder with the children. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot, So, but it's also cool though, that's who ended up taking her out, was the fucking child thing, right? And wasn't that the one that she squared? Wasn't that the one that squared off with friggin' Ellie too? And whatnot, was that same child one? Yep. There you go. So yeah, and Henry or Sam, I mean, right? Didn't they fight with that one too?
No.
Oh no. Okay, I'm tripping then. So no. Bottom line, great scene, great timing with the action. And everything and whatnot. And I'm glad that they didn't close the episode out off the action scene. Like, that wasn't the ending, that they had like an afterward part, deal, right? Which we didn't talk about yet, but that they had more to add other than just the final kind of battle or whatever, if you want to go MCU style, like Jazz was talking about.
Agreed. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So after that epic sequence, basically the episode ends. We basically get our end sequence here, which was I thought a very touching moment, a very interesting ending to this episode. Like I said, it was a complete and full, completion of story. I felt, and I like that they did that with this episode, that they completed the whole thought and not leaving a cliffhanger, not actually completing a whole complete thought. So basically, after they get away from the mob of infected, they end up at some place, some hotel or somewhere that they bunker into, and they're just hanging out there. And then we go, it shows Joel and Henry for a brief second. Then we go to Elle and Sam in the bedroom, and basically they're having a conversation and kind of going over things. And as Elle's kind of looking over herself, and all of a sudden realizes, oh, I got bit again. And she's like, and Sam kind of looks kind of worried a little bit. And that's when Elle basically explains to him that, she has special blood, and that, she's the cure, that she's fine. And, as the conversation goes on, she says, I'm worried about being left alone. And, she asks him, and he says, I'm worried about, and basically he ends up writing not, what he's worried about, but that, like, does a person know, are they still in there when they become infected? Because then he shows that he got bit, and you're like, oh shit, like, this is not good. Because if Elle gets bit, we all know nothing's gonna happen, but this poor kid gets bit, you're like, crap. And so, basically she's like, my good blood. And so she, like, cuts herself and, like, starts rubbing her blood on his wound to try to see if that will keep him from turning infected. And basically she ends up making a promise that she won't tell, and that she'll stay awake with him in case he does turn, or to make sure that he's okay. And so then it comes to morning, and Elliot must have fallen asleep at some point, and she kind of wakes up and notices he's sitting at the edge of the bed, facing away. And she, says, Sam, are you okay? And all of a sudden, he turns, and he's been turned into an infected, and he starts going after her, and he's like going after her, and then they end up flying into the room where Joel and Henry are. And Joel tries to help, but Henry ends up shooting towards him to tell him to back off, and then realizes what's going on, and he ends up shooting his brother in the head. And after he shoots his brother's head, then he shoots himself. And you're like, holy shit, man. Like, what just happened? Holy crap. Like, he just killed himself. You're like, what? And so then it's like both Ellie and Joel are kind of like, holy shit. And so then it pans and shows them outside, and they're burying Sam and Henry. And they're kind of reflecting. And then all of a sudden it shows Elle. She's walking over with that Etch-a-Sketch thingy, and puts it down on one of the graves, and it says, I'm sorry. And once again, they reflect for a second, and then it kind of pans to Elle, and she's like, okay, let's go. And they walk off into the sunset. All right. So that's the end of the episode. That's how it ends. Holy crap. Awesome. So let's get your thoughts on the end of the episode. What was your ultimate feeling of what happened with Henry and Sam? How did you think the episode ended? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was a good ending? And overall, just what did you think of that last section of this episode? Starting with you, Jasmine.
Personally, I love the actress that plays Ellie. I was a little standoffish in the beginning because, me as someone who's played the game, I am very pro finding somebody that looks like a character, but I also learned over time that as long as they do the job and they have the essence of the character, I could give two shits. So her reaction to like her relationship with Sam was everything to me for this episode, and just seeing how he was bit and she cut her hand and was saying to him that it was medicine, it would heal him, and she promised, and how heartbreaking it was for me because I already watched a show called Scorpion today where I had to watch a dog drown and then be brought back to life. So I was just like, I don't think I can handle the emotions of this episode right now. I'm still on the edge of that dog. And then they have that moment where the morning comes and I'm sitting there like, oh no, please, no, I know where the game went and please don't do this to me. And when it happened, I was just like, fuck you, HBO Max, for triggering my emotions. Because the way that she had her shock and her heartbreak and how she just feels defeated as she's being attacked and she's fighting, but she's not fighting like she was before. She's a little weakened and vulnerable right now because this is her friend. And just watching her getting clawed at and Joel wanting to help her, but, the brother's stopping him. And I'm just sitting here broken, like watching this whole scenario, this whole play out. And I'm trying to cry right now. Just that happening and watching her face when the brother kills Sam and then takes his own life, and the heartbreak and the sadness in her eyes just was, oh my god. Like, if I could tell you superb acting, that was beyond great acting, because you could see the hurt, the shock, the pain in her eyes. And it's just, this episode is so well done. And the writing is immaculate to the point where in a short amount of time, they have been able to get you to fall in love with characters and hate characters so well that it's just, I can't wait for the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, I totally, I see where you're coming from, and I totally felt the same way. I was like in shock too, and awe at the end of this episode as well, because I just was like, holy crap, like all this craziness. And like, I was surprised once again, they brought in, 2 new characters and then they killed them right off. I was like, holy crap, crazy. But yeah, I thought that was really good. All right. The great Loki's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on the end of the episode, please.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jasmine. It was just heartbreaking, and unlike her, I didn't know Sam's fate or Henry's fate, So, but I sort of knew, when they're up under the tank and the clackers or clickers or whatever they call coming after them. And then, of course, Ellie's just so bad. She saves their life. At least in that moment, she saves them. And Joel sees in her. He sees her. At that moment, I think he really sees her for what she is. And then it just plays out. They go back into the hideout in the motel, and it's like, it just kind of winds down. And, I once when I was a kid, I had a dog that her little paw got caught in the fence. And she turned around and bit me. I was trying to help her, but she turned around and bit me. And I sort of felt that emotion again, because it was a feeling of betrayal. And I think maybe that I felt that for Ellie. And yeah, it's very emotional. And yeah, and I don't want to cry and everything, but yeah, you get into deep thoughts, deep emotions and whatnot. And it's hard sometimes when something. Yeah, you want to laugh and whatnot, but when you're in deep thoughts or deep emotions, it's really not a good time to make a crass joke or something like that. But moving on, I think we do see the tables flip at the end, where at this point Ellie's the one who's driving the show. Let's go. She's totally grown up at this point. Yeah, let's go bury it. Let's bury the dead. Let's go. and there's a little horse. If you notice, they're walking up this road, and there's like a sign or something of a horse, and that's the last thing you see. And I thought that was sort of a really good way of here we are again, Ellie and Joel alone one more time.
Thank you for pointing that out. I did not notice a horse there at the end. That's good to know. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Jeff, your thoughts on the ending of the episode, sir?
Oh, just to explain what you were asking in the chat, Cyber. That's the fandom wiki for the show. I just wanted to pull it up real quick and whatnot and everything, and maybe when after we finish the last round of questions and whatnot, just because it has the old explanation of how long it took to actually develop the show and blah blah, and it seemed interesting. If we had time for it or whatever and whatnot. But anyways, but no. So I mean, well, I think that, there isn't really that much for me to add really, because what we're working with here at this, in the episode at this point is just very it's very simplified. And Jasmine and obviously Renee have obviously already expressed like their emotional connection to like this portion of the episode and whatnot, everything, right? And obviously I think that was what the point, like that's what they wanted to achieve and accomplish it for the audience, you know what I'm saying, like men and women, was to unfortunately that's the thing about covering these series and whatnot, is that with the House of the Dragon, it was like there was some shit that would go down that was pretty unethical and whatnot and everything and all that, but like there really wasn't anything that was like so fucking sad to see or whatever, or like broke your heart or some shit. Really, it was more like debauchery or like just fucking murder, you know what I mean, or like just fucking what's his name, cutting off the dude's head at one point, like right from jump, the king's brother or whatever and shit and whatnot. Bam.
Just a second. There's, I think we went over it, but there was the name of the show of this episode is called Endure. Make sure I get it going right. Endure and Survive. And remember, there's a quick little scene where Ellie and Sam, and they actually do it in sign languages. I think it's like endure and then survive is like drawing their hands up, like up to the sky. And so, I just thought I'd throw that in. So endure and survive. And the dichotomy here is that unlike in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, where it's like you say, it's just all dog eat dog. These people are surviving. They're not. If they had their choice, they wouldn't be living this way, But they have no choice. But anyway, I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's perfectly fine. It's always okay. Unless you're making fun of me about how I got down by Shield again last night, again, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot, and all that. That's what that scene with the what do you call it? The SpongeBob looking dude, the bloater, when he like picked up the dude and like hurled through around and whatnot. That actually like struck a chord with me with like She-Hulk. That's kind of how she treats me. You know what I'm saying? She just throws me around like a doll.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I feel like that sometimes myself. I just like to grab somebody's head and just.
There you go. That's what she does to me. You got it. So, anyways, but she didn't go with the bloaters. But what do you call it? But that's the thing about, for me, like that I find about covering especially I think HBO Studios produce stuff, right? Is just the seriousness level that they take it with things. Both the actor that plays Joel and the actress that plays Ellie were in Game of Thrones. They just never shared any scenes together, right? But they were both in Game of Thrones. And I told Cyber before, anybody who's seen Ellie, what's her name? The actress, I forget her last name, that plays Ellie. What the hell is her name? Oh, right here. What's her name? Ellie. Oh, Bella
Ramsey.
Bella Ramsey. In the Game of Thrones, she's Leona Mormont. The head of the Mormont clan or whatever, or family or whatever, or whatnot. And she's like this she's such a badass. And in like the the final battle against the Army of the Dead, like at Winterfell or whatever, she takes on like a fucking giant, like a zombie giant and shit, like, and kills it herself and like dies at the same time, like dies with it. Because she stabs it in the eye with dragon glass or some shit like that. But she was badass in that thing. But I just wanted to mention that. Seeing Tommy is really dope. Like, we were wondering what the deal was with Tommy, right? And honestly, that's really good casting that they have. He's probably gonna. I think Gabriel Luna's a really good actor. I think he'll add a lot to the series now that he's going to be a part of it. I didn't mean to, did I go too far?
Gabriel Luna. Who the hell are you talking about?
He's talking about Tommy in the preview. We see in the coming previews that he's going to meet up with Tommy finally in the next episode.
Is that actor's name?
Yes.
Okay.
You never
No,
heard of
I
him
thought you
before?
were trying to say Diego Luna and then added Gabriel to it. So
no, Gabriel Luna. No. But no, I'm sorry. She's Renee's right. I think that is from the after the credits that came out that they played that or something like that. I don't think that was a part of the episode. But no, it was a very morbid episode and with some good action. And I think that sometimes friendships and relationships and things and whatnot and everything that are born from situations like this, if you think about it, can be probably some of the most genuine, connective, real type of relationships and dynamics and friendships that you can possibly have, right? Because of the atmosphere that you're living in, the environment you're living in, and the trauma that you have to suffer to experience the complete breakdown of a society, right, into a post-apocalyptic fucking place. You know what I'm saying? That's got to weigh on you. Right? I mean, depending on how you're built internally, emotionally and whatnot, how you're made up, that is how you're going to handle it. If you end up alive, luckily, if you want to call it being lucky for those 20 years or whatnot, everything after the time jump. But I can tell you right now, I wouldn't even want to imagine what it would be like for me to have to be Joel if I was in his shoes and have to experience what he's experienced and whatnot and everything, and have to live with it for 20 years like that. With the breakdown of society and shit and whatnot, right? Fuck, man. That shit would take a toll on me. I would probably end up becoming He Who Remains in the Loki finale. I'd be like that, it's not as positive. A great ending of the episode. And overall, the episode itself was really great.
Excellent, thank you. All right, going around the table, let's give our ratings, and then I will throw it over to you, Jeffrey, and you can go over that little section that you want to talk about. All right, start with you, Jasmine. What would you give it as a rating?
This episode is a 10 out of 10 for me. The way that the writers have written this episode, the way the director had, 9.5, because I still have my issues with the way that they went from scene to scene earlier in the episode with Sam, the brother, and Joel and Ellie, because they needed some transportation cutscenes, some scenes in there to kind of give it a little bit more depth for the characters, a little bit more space for conversation, because the way they jump from location to location is just really bad. But other than that, it's a 9.5. It's really good episode.
Excellent. Lokismom.
I'm gonna give it a 9. I thought it was probably the best episode after the first episode. That the first was almost a movie in itself. A solid 9. And for the direction, for the acting, like I say, I think everybody's been mentioned again. Pedro Pascal, brilliant actor. I mean, he didn't have a lot here. He was doing a lot of just looking, but he was reacting a lot. He's a great reactor, as well as an actor. So yeah, and hats off to the kids, both the children actors. I've always sort of complained about kid actors a lot, but They did well, getting really good. And the Sam, oh my God, losing Sam. I might would have given it a 10 if Sam could have survived, but it wasn't meant to be. So yeah, 9.
All right, Jeff.
I give it a 9. I think that's fair, and I'm just gonna say that. I'm literally gonna say that because I have something I want to say that has something to do with the rating and whatnot and everything. But I just feel like talking, so I just figured I'd copy Renee. You know what I'm saying? So she's cool anyway. You know what I mean? I figured whatever she gave it was probably cool, so I just roll with her shit. It could be a 7.75 Cyber. You never know, but there you go, Cyber. I can give a rating without a 0.75 or a 0.25, motherfucker. Feel me? I can do it.
Well, you just still said 7.75. So
I was joking. I was joking.
Said it. You still
I gave it a 9.
You still said it. You still
I
said
gave
it.
it a 9. Anyways,
Said it.
One of the things that I think is interesting to talk about like,
hold on. You can do that when you can rant.
No, I meant 9. I'm serious. I give it a 9.
Yeah,
I did have something to say.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say that
Can I get my rating first though before you guys go off the rants, please?
Go ahead. Yes, please.
I give it a 10. Solid 10. I thought it was good. I'm done. Go ahead, people.
I apologize, Cyber. If I know that's all you wanted to say, brother, I promise I would have muted myself a while before then. Anyways, my only tangent was going to be just that. I don't know how y'all feel about this or whatever or whatnot, but I find it interesting myself internally reviewing the different TV series and whatnot and everything, and I can't help myself but like finding myself internally contrasting them sometimes in certain aspects of certain episodes or you know, throughout series, throughout actors or actresses and their performances or whatever, right? Or atmospheres or whatever, right? And then you know, sort of I enjoy the aspect of the trying and comparing to compare and contrast certain stuff with House of the Dragon, for instance, with this series, because it's the only thing I can think of that I've watched or whatever we've covered at all ever that comes close to the sort of like sadness, right? And like fucking like harshness and like you know, depressive like tone or whatever of fucking The Last of Us, really, when I think about it. You know, but no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It really is. It's really enjoyable to be able to hang out with good people and cover shit that's of different like niches or whatever and whatnot, like different styles or whatever or genres, and jump from House of Dragon to like Andor to like you know, Willow, God bless its soul, and you know, and She-Hulk. And Marvel stuff and whatnot, right? And then cover this and everything and whatnot. It's just enjoyable, I guess, is my point. Just, you know, it's interesting. I find it very interesting. And this series itself, for whatever reason, makes me feel like I want to contrast it to a lot of other things. And also, I think that Oscar Isaac would be great as Joel. Like if they put Oscar Isaac in that role, I think he would have been really fucking good. Possibly, I don't think I don't think at all that anybody could play that character really any better than Pascal is playing it or whatever or anything like that. It's not even like, I'm not even trying to go there. And I would be surprised if he probably does get recognized probably by the end of the series. Of course, the awards there won't be any nominations till the end of the year, but I'm sure that this series will probably end up getting recognized and they'll probably get nominated for several Emmys.
Oh,
right?
sure. I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll put that out there.
You said Oscar Isaac. I think it would be interesting. Yeah, but he would bring a totally different tone because I think one of the things that I pointed out just a little bit ago, Pedro has this great presence to him. You know, he can be very still and still convey. I think that's probably why he's so great as the Mandalorian, because we never see him. We see his body movements. We hear his voice. You know, that's all. We don't.
Renee,
see
what about Josh Brolin? Could you imagine Josh Brolin as Joel? See, I think that.
I think Josh would. Yeah, I think he could fit in that. Again, they're all going to bring a different dynamic to a different, you know, tone to it. But yeah, I think Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, I think would be far more active. You know, he'd be kind of all over the place. he kind of reminds me kind of Al Pacino-ish type actor.
No, but
Yeah.
Jasmine, did you see Dune? Jazz,
Dune.
did you see Dune, the film, Dune?
Dune. Yes, I've seen it.
You saw it, the one that came out last year. What do you call it? He was pretty laid back in that. Like, he was pretty chill, right? So what do you think? Like, we don't ever really talk about or like think about like or get into this kind of like theorizing stuff of like, oh, what if they had casted this actor or that actress or whatever to play this part? What do you think about do you think Oscar Isaac or Josh Brolin or whatever could have played Joel, like, and pulled off a performance that's like up to the same degree as Pascal's?
Honestly, anybody that would have played the role would probably gave the same performance with the right direction. Honestly, Oscar Isaac is a really good actor, but I honestly think they went with the best portrayal when it comes to Pedro Pascal in this role. I definitely
I do disagree with you,
his
though.
portrayal of it, because seeing Oscar Isaac in this role, I don't know how I feel about it. Honestly,
Jess, I don't think any actor could play this character. If you threw Tom Hiddleston in as Joel, it wouldn't work.
Oh no, it wouldn't work at all.
He does not have that.
Not at all.
They wouldn't have hired him anyway because of the body build. They still were trying to go for a particular Joel-esqueness when they were going through actors. So I don't think they would have went Tom Hiddleston for sure.
No, but there's a certain tone to a person too that with acting, right? Like a vibe that they give off.
There's a certain dad element to the role, and Tom Hiddleston gives more daddy than he does dad, and there's a big difference in that way of thinking when you're doing roles.
Yeah, well, he would be totally miscast. Yeah, that Tom Hiddleston wouldn't fit in that at all.
He's more Loki than he is Joel.
Tom Hiddleston can't even grow a beard, can he?
I don't think so.
No.
No, I've never seen him with facial hair at all.
No, he grows one, but it's not. He has one. Down, but it's scrawny. It's not a full beard.
Oh, okay. It's like the Keanu Reeves beard.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, look at a picture of him. Recent pixture of him, you'll see it.
Oh, Cyber brother, I'm sorry, man. Good. Cyber, you want to get out, man? And me and Jasmine and Renee will go ahead and just tackle this. The extra content, the bonus content from the episode.
Yes, sir. Yeah, unfortunately, Thursdays have to be in at 8 a.m. So I have to be at.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and pull you up. I'm sorry. I would have already had you pulled up and whatnot and everything on YouTube, so I could pull up Cyberneticshark.
All good. It's all good.
You know what? And honestly, the next time we come on, I'll go ahead and I'll get my TikTok added here on my Google Chrome. Because I don't have it. I've never. I don't use Google. I don't use Google Chrome on my MacBook very much. I use the Apple. Whatever it is that they have their shit. But what do you call it? At that point, at that, like, if just to sign into TikTok, I'll have to actually log in. And then I can pull up your TikTok and everything next show. So we can show that too.
Cool.
I can even pull up Rizzo TV. Right?
You could.
Cyber, what's going on with Rizzo, man? They changed a bunch of shit. All of our videos are gone from our channels.
What?
You didn't notice that?
No.
Yeah,
I haven't been on there. I haven't been on there in forever. So.
Oh, okay. I got you. I'm sorry, Cyber. Go ahead.
All right. All right, so people, if you would enjoy my moderating on here, or you just enjoy me on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, definitely check out my solo content. As you can see there, I got a whole bunch of stuff up. Most recent one is the Covenant trailer reaction, which is the upcoming Guy Ritchie film coming out in April. And Yes, you see, I did the Murder Mystery trailer recently, Cocaine Bear trailer reaction. So definitely check those out, people. And then, of course, my shorts. Like I said, I started doing my Unknown History episodes on my shorts. So definitely check those out. Did a couple on Robert Waldo, the tallest man ever to live. And then I also did some info, giving you a little bit of info and back check on the Open Water film that came out in 2003 that's based on a true story. As you can see, I'm at 554, slowly making my way up there to that next mark. So yeah, just keep on trucking, people. Thank you for anyone that is subscribed. You'll be seeing more stuff coming up soon. More reviews will be up and videos will be up in the next 3 days. So keep looking and keep watching.
Cyber, I love coming on there and pulling up your thing and seeing your subscriber counts grow from show to show and everything and whatnot, right? It makes me feel good to see it now, brother.
Yes, it does.
I like to see it. I do. It's a positive feeling for me.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Well, listen. I guess we will see you. I'll see you on Friday for our gun. What's his name?
Saffron.
Saffron. DC Slate show.
Yes, sir.
So, there you go. All right, Cyber. Peace, man.
All right. Peace.
Bye, Cyber.
Bye-bye.
Well, honestly, you know what? Today I was thinking. Honestly, folks, since Jasmine dipped and Cyber wanted to dip anyways, and we're already at hour. We already went over an hour and a half. We're almost at like 11:20 p.m. Renee and I have work that we have to do besides to get some content that we made up onto YouTube. And if we don't do it and get it done, it's not going to get up.
It's our Valentine's Day little special we got coming out, and I think it's real cute, and I think you'll like it.
No, I think that honestly, we probably. I'm not trying. I don't want to sound all. I don't want anybody out there that watches this video to get the wrong idea, because I'm not like a crazy numbers person with the content. But at the same time, it probably would be more logical for me and Renee to actually just kill the show here and just watch the HBO extra content and whatnot and react to it in like a segmented form, like a short form or whatever. Hey, baby, that's what people want to watch these days, is that shorter form content. They don't want to watch an hour and a half long shit. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get more views on it. You know what I'm saying? If we do it like that with its own thumbnail, than if we just have it here. So I hate to say it, folks. You're gonna have to go without Renee, Loki's mom, and Jeff has True Knowledge. We're not gonna hit the 2-hour mark for once, right? Yeah. So, right?
Get some rest, folks.
Yeah, there you go. No, and I have to get up early in the morning anyway. I do. So, for once. How that's going to work out, I have no idea. But I will say, though, that in general, the episode was really good. The series has been going really good. And I think that probably, I guess, it's just like something to kind of wrap things up. Oh, you know what? Here, I totally forgot. I apologize, Renee. I had the episode 6 preview. I just never played it. So here, let me pull it up quick and whatnot. We can just watch that quick. Okay. It's only like a minute. It's only 50 seconds long. Okay, there it is. All that, or how that shot. I like that. Did you catch that Western vibe to it?
Yeah. That's what I said. I think at the end where I talked about the little horse, or not the horse signage that you see in the distance. Yeah. That kind of ties into that. They're heading further west.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, no, I like that too. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, although I haven't watched it, Yellowstone. You know what I mean? Which I can't believe it is. It's in its 5th season now. Holy crap!
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think I just heard about it.
I was looking online yesterday. I was on Paramount Plus for yesterday for the first time in forever. It's just like Halo or whatever. I had been on there, and for shits and giggles, I was like, I'm gonna jump on there real quick and just look around and see what's on there. And I saw Yellowstone and it said season 5, and I was like, holy shit! Like I thought that it just started like 2 years ago.
And now if it's into 5 seasons, it's kind of long. I don't know if I want to catch up on it or not.
I don't either. And what is the other show too that they made that's like a spin-off or whatever? With,
I think they got two of them. Yeah, there are ones they go back and like
Harrison Ford's the other one, isn't he?
Yeah. It's like the previous generations. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it was like a prequel thing or whatever or something like that. I thought it was just like in the same I don't know, I guess genre. You know what I mean?
I just
Whatever,
never have watched it. I don't know why. I mean, I like westerns and stuff like that. I probably
me
like
too.
it, but I just hadn't. For some reason, I just had keep forgetting about it.
I know, and I've never seen Kevin Costner on TV before, in a TV show before. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of different. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember him ever. He's never been on
Yeah,
a
I
TV
don't
show.
think. Yeah, you're right. I don't think. I think Yellowstone's his first.
He went right into movie acting right from jump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he did Silverado. Way a long time.
Oh yeah.
Movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah. What was that?
Scott Glenn was in it.
1980, 1981.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Danny Glover. Yeah.
A lot of great actors.
Oh yeah, Danny Glover. What's his name? Kevin. What the hell?
Costner.
No, you know what I'm talking about.
Kevin Kline. Kevin Kline, yeah.
Kevin Kline from A Fish Called Wanda. Right. And then who else was in it?
John Cleese, actually, he played the sheriff.
Yeah,
with a very British accent.
Yeah, you know what? Would be a good movie to review. Now I think about it. I like to do this, folks. I sometimes just randomly like when we're having these kind of discussions, me and Renee or whoever, me and Joey, me and Cyber, certain films remind me of other films, and I just thought to myself how much fun it would be to review. God, what was that Clint Eastwood movie with Morgan Freeman? From like '92 or whatever. It won the Oscar. I know it did.
Who was the co-star?
Morgan Freeman. Remember, it was Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman. Gene Hackman was in it.
I'm sorry, who?
Gene Hackman was in it.
Was it the Clint Eastwood movie?
Yeah.
I can't think the name of it. Yeah.
Oh God, I gotta pull it up. That's to drive me fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah, that's got another huge cast.
I can't believe I can't remember the name of that fucking movie. That drives me nuts too. It's gonna be something stupid too that I can't even remember it. God, Clint Eastwood has been in a lot of movies, and he's directed a lot of freaking movies too.
Unforgiven, wasn't it?
Unforgiven. There it is. Yeah. Yep. Unforgiven. Holy shit, that was a good movie. Talk about do you want to talk about like a somber tone, right, to a film?
Oh yeah.
Right? Like there's not a single positive, like joyful or like a redemptive anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like the end of the Western, kind of like the end of the era type. It's all over. The Wild West is over with, and this is where we're at, type.
Yeah,
just killing each other,
Yeah, I'm surprised that. You see now, I'm surprised that you like that because like there is no redemption for any. There is no redemptive. You know what I'm saying? Like Clint Eastwood, right. He's almost like the Punisher.
Yeah, right. And sort of. I think going back to The Last of Us, I think there is that redemptive drive. I mean, the fact that Ellie has the saving serum or whatever, they can maybe make a cure from her blood. So, there's that hope, and she's the hope, Yeah,
and at the same time, with the hope, right, and the redemption is the fact that we know we're going to see them do graphic, unethical shit. Span of however 4 or 5 seasons it takes them to do the show.
Another thing I noticed in the previews, we see the town there's electric lights on. So apparently they've got some civilization, some sort of order in this little town wherever
it would make sense.
Going.
It would make sense that there would be quarantine zones or whatever, whatnot, where like they would have power, at least like partially. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe like for like a certain amount of the day.
I think the quarantine zones all have power in one of the cities, but in this, I think, and I don't know. I think we'll find out. But this town they're heading to is an independent town, and they probably have their own. Maybe whatever engineers went out and hooked up the electric power station. There's a hydroelectric plant nearby they could take advantage of. So kind of like if you think about, you remember it was on two TV series in the book, The Stand, when they all got out, wherever they got out in Colorado or wherever they were going to assemble. Then they all started like putting the town back together and hooking up the power and getting the, the food and they started trying to organize themselves and become a community again, and rather than just being a marauding band,
Now, if they had actually, it's unfortunate because if they had made some of those Stephen King novels into movies now, right? What they're able to do now with effects, right? And how much better shot things are, right? How what they can do visually in movie production now compared to then. I think that a lot of the stuff that they tried to do with his stuff in like the late 70s and in the 80s and early 90s and whatnot, it was some of it was decent. Like Pet Sematary was pretty solid, right?
Well, Carrie was great. I mean, they remade Carrie. They'll do that. They'll remake
the remake of Carrie was bad. It wasn't that good.
And there was nothing wrong with the first version of Carrie. I mean, and all, it was perfectly good movie.
And that was before the remaking stuff was becoming like a problem. You know what I mean?
And
like
back then, they didn't have the CGI. They had Sissy Spacek had to have that fake blood poured over her over and over again.
And when they did the Carrie remake, that was back in the late 90s when like back then doing remakes was actually vogue. It was like cool kind of. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it is now where like people are tired of it. You know what I mean? Like, like everybody's rebelled against it. They're like sick of people of before the MCU. Remember how it was getting kind of crazy where they were just everything was fucking, before the MCU took off. Remember how it was just like they were just remaking everything.
Yeah, they just keep doing Batman over and over again.
Yeah, no, but everything though was being remade. You know what I'm saying? Like all of it. That's what we got there for a while. That was pretty much what you got, like with your movies, right? And it did get to be to a point where it almost became like gratuitous. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the remakes just got worse and worse. But when they're done
the cheap way to make a movie because they don't have to. They don't have to put. Influence. And it shows they don't. You can tell they just remade a movie. That's all they did.
Hey, you know what? If you can remake a movie,
made it more violent or whatever.
If you can make it better than the original, then you've done something. Then, you know what I'm saying? There is that luster in doing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably dozens and dozens of bad movies out there that in the past that could be remade and improved, but a movie like Carrie or a movie like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, it's psycho to just, to think that you could top Alfred Hitchcock's original.
No, and it's like
after
it's like
everybody's already seen it.
the Outlaw Josie Wales, like it would. I don't think it would work as well if they shot it today with what they're capable to do now compared to like how things looked then in the original Josie Wales. I don't think I like that a newer version of it. You know what I'm saying? If you could bring, if you could have, you get what I'm saying. The look of it.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said to actually go out on location and make and not green screen everything. But I know they can't do that in these types of movies and whatnot. That they had to green screen Boston because it's and they did a terrific job of it. I mean, so far the green screen's been great. I mean, wonderful.
I've only been to Boston once, so at some point I'll go again. Whenever I go up there to see my brother at some point or whatever and whatnot. I will. But I didn't go back.
And sort of see what it looks like, and then kind of imagine the devastation from the TV show.
It's what do you call it? It's the show's going by really fast, so I think it's important for me, anyways, to try to kind of relish these last 4 episodes or whatever, right? Because at the same time, I guess it probably means I should probably light a fire under my ass, right? And find another TV series for us to cover when this bitch ends. So that's a good idea.
Something coming, I'm sure. Well, hey, we got Secret Invasion coming up.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. That's right.
We shouldn't get too ambitious. We'll before we know it, it'll all be hitting us.
No, that's true because February will be over before you know it, right? And then it'll be March, and then it will probably come out at the end of March or the early April. So you're right. In less than 2 months, we'll have Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Right, and we're going to see Ant-Man tomorrow night, folks.
And Ant-Man, yay!
And on Sunday,
I can't wait.
Yeah, on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we will be together. I'm not sure who else will be on. It'll be me, Cyber, and Renee on Sunday, and we're going to do our Ant-Man 3 Quantumania review. But I'm sure we'll probably have at least another person. Jasmine will come on, or we'll bring, Jeremiah or somebody, one of the troop of different people that are out there. This William will come on, right? Somebody will come on and join us probably. But we're gonna bang out a review of Ant-Man. So, hey, I forgot about that for a minute there, and I can't wait. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning and feel really positive, looking forward to go see that film. I don't know about you, Renee.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I am. I made a boo-boo of looking on RT Rotten Tomatoes just to see, and they didn't give it a good. That 51, it's right in the middle. So 50-50. Yeah, 50-50. That's not bad.
Wait a minute. Is that the fan one, or is that the?
No, they haven't done the fan one yet.
Okay.
So it's just the critics. But I always look at it this way. The critics, they have their agendas and their what they want to write about and things that they. So I don't know what they saw or didn't see in the movies. I can't criticize them. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'll agree with them. I don't pull my punches on things. But anyway, but the way I see it, it's probably going to be pretty good. If it pissed off that many people, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I've come across there's one or two YouTubers that are also on Rumble, that slam Marvel a lot, and that have already I'm not gonna name their names, but that I've already seen them put up videos saying that Ant-Man 3 is just another fucking what do you call it, MCW, right? It's going to be a chick flick type of fucking deal. Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, it's going to be all
well, I don't know how it's got the 2 stars or
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even care. That's my
point. We'll see. I think
I don't even give a shit.
I think so. Just to touch on that briefly, I think a lot of people are just getting too bitchy and they're they're looking for stuff. They're looking for stuff to point out and blah, blah, blah. But anyway,
we've seen too many. We've watched the channels too many times. They're too damn fucking good. The movie did not be good. It's not possible.
I don't think that between Paul Rudd or Michael B. Jordan they can fail that part. So I'm going in positive.
I didn't realize that what's his name, Killmonger was going to be in the film.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I give the wrong name? I'm sorry. Who's
Michael B. Jordan?
No, I'm sorry. I gave the wrong. What's his name? Oh God. What's Kang's name? No. See, you don't even know.
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors. I do apologize, Jonathan Majors, and also Michael B. Jordan. I got you confused. Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, I think
I was thinking Killmonger for some reason.
I think Jonathan Majors is at least if you believe what people say is a much more higher acclaimed actor than Michael B. Jordan. But that's what some people say.
Yeah, I would think so. Let's see. Yeah,
I don't know. I saw Michael B. Jordan's movie he did on Amazon or whatever the fuck it was called. That was based off of the Tom Clancy novel. And God, I can't remember what it was called, but damn, I thought it was fucking great. I reviewed it over on Religious Broadcasting Network and whatnot, and Mark and Robert over there just tore that movie apart. But I was all about it. I was like, I thought it was great. But yeah, they're not fans.
He was also he was also Johnny Storm, Human Torch.
Yeah, he was. He was.
I'll agree. Not put nothing on Michael B. Jordan, but yeah, Jonathan Majors, I think is a little bit better actor.
I think the name of that movie is No Redemption. I think it is. That's what it is. The one I'm talking about that's on Amazon and whatnot that they made with Michael B. Jordan. It's called No Redemption or something like that.
Okay.
That's right. I'll look for it another day, folks. But we're gonna get out of here. I already basically dropped the plugs. We've got an Ant-Man review on Friday. We've got the Gun Saffron DC slate to break down. 9:35 p.m. Eastern, 6:35 p.m. Pacific. Sunday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, we do our live stream Ant-Man 3 Quantumania review. All of us will be there. Renee won't be there for the gun thing on Friday, but other than that, she'll be there on Sunday. And besides that, we'll see you for episode 6 of The Last of Us. That's Wednesday. Would you like to say good night to everybody, Renee?
Good night. Good night. Lady Death Lady says good night.